Hello everyone, it's Michael with the World of Michael Trent. And today I want to share with you my latest obsession when it comes to card making. This is called a pop-up and twist paddle card. So when you open it up, this little mechanism in the center pops up and twists out for your message or scene here. Okay. These are really cool if you need a quick Halloween card or a quick Christmas card or a birthday card. I didn't use any stamping on these except on this one. I'm going to show you how to make this today. I did stamp Happy Halloween here, but depending on what paper you're using here, you may not need a sentiment because it's obvious that this is a Happy Halloween card. There are... These cards are thick, okay? They're not a flat A2 card. They're a little thick because of the mechanism in the center. So I have here, like, let me show you here. There's what I'm calling a one-layer card and a two-layer card. So here I have my cardstock base, the black, and then I have one layer of decorative paper here. And then when you open it, there's just one layer of paper here and one layer of paper here. It will still fall down. It's a little thicker than an A2 card, but if you want to do two layers, so here I have my cardstock base, then I have a layer of orange, and then I have the decorative scrapbook paper. So this is two layers here. And then on the inside, I have my black paper, my orange cardstock, then the paper, and the same thing here. So by putting two layers on, it's getting even thicker than the one layer card. So keep that in mind when you make these. You may have to pay extra postage, but these do slip right into an A2 envelope without any problem. Let me just grab it. So this is just an A2 envelope, and this will slip right in. You could tape it closed if you want. So it is a little bulky. So just be careful knowing about that before you go off to the post office and they ask you for an additional 25 cents or something, okay? This is a Christmas one that I did, and I made this. This is using paper from a Brazilian paper company. And I think I might do a video on this also, but this just exploded, and I have people here wanting to get them and this and that. So this is why I've become obsessed with these. You can have a plain paper. You can add googly eyes if your image has space for googly eyes. I embrace googly eyes. So go through your Halloween stash of papers. I moved here with a whole bunch of Halloween papers from Michael's and Joann's, and some of them are really thin paper, like this one-sided paper that I probably picked up on a paper pad from Michael's. This is a two-sided paper. It's a little bit thicker. So you really don't need much to make this, and it comes together pretty quickly. Of course, your first one is going to be the hardest because you're learning how the mechanism works. But once you get that started, you could pop these out in no time. Okay, so you will need a solid cardstock for your base. If you're using a 12 by 12 inch cardstock, you will only need one sheet. If you only have 8.5 by 11 or A4, you will need two sheets of that. You will need 1 to 3 sheets of paper. And I'm saying 1 to 3 because in this case, I used the front of this paper on the front. I used the back over here. And then I used this Happy Halloween paper to go across the front here. This card is actually a double-sided paper which I don't have handy. This was one side of the paper, this was also the same side of the paper, and this was the reverse side of the paper. So this card actually uses one double-sided sheet of scrapbook paper. And if you want one image here, another image here, and something else here from 3 different papers, you would have to use 3. So that's why I say 1 to 3 sheets of paper, depending on what designs you pick, okay? So we're gonna use this and this. We have our solid. If you have a stitched or plain rectangle dies, the one die here is 4 by 5 1/4. It's the same die for here and the same die for here for a 1-layer card. If I do a 2-layer card, I'm using a 4 by 5 1/4 inch die here, and this one would be 3 3/4 by 5, okay? So again, if you don't have the die, all you need to do is cut a piece of paper 4 inches by 5 1/4, and you will be fine. So let's get started. Let me take you through. Oh, you will need a scoreboard, a stylus. You will need some tape. You could use a wet glue. Okay, that's not a problem. I am not using a glue on this one. I'll indicate when I make this where you can use glue. You can use 3/8 of an inch, which would be 9 millimeter. This is 12 millimeter, which would be a 1/2 inch. And this is 2-inch tape, which would be 48 millimeters here in Brazil and possibly Europe. And the only reason I'm using a wider one, I'll show you in a second. But if you only have this tape, you don't need anything else, okay? So to get started, you're going to cut 3 sheets of cardstock, okay? One is going to be 4 1/4 by 11, and then you are going to place it in your scoring tool, and you are going to score at 5 1/2, which would be half. This is to make your A2 sized card base. Okay, I should grab a bone folder. This second sheet is going to be 3 1/2 inches by 10 inches. You're going to place it with the long side along the top of your scoring tool. You're going to score at 2 1/2, 5, and 7 1/2. And then you just want to turn everything back and burnish well so that everything lines up perfectly. I like to use the corner of my scoring tool as a gauge. So look at that, perfect, perfect. Okay, third piece is going to be 3 1/2 inches across by 8 inches. On the short side, you're going to place the short side at the top. You're going to score in half at 1 3/4. Then you are going to place the long side along the top of your scoring tool. And this is important. You're going to make a little mark at the 2 1/4 spot, then again at the 5 3/4 spot. You're going to turn it around, do the same thing, make a little mark at 2 1/4, and then again at 5 3/4. You could also use a pencil to make the marks, just erase the marks afterwards because they might show when you open up the mechanism. Now, this is the tricky part. You want to, I have one line here that I darkened with a magic marker. And you want to line up this mark here with this mark here and score between the two. So what I do is I line up here on the bottom. Let me see if I can scoot in a bit. Okay, so here is one mark. Here is the other mark. They're both butting up against this darker line, score mark, and you're going to score down. You could also use a pencil and make a line with a ruler between the 2 points and then score on that. Then you're going to turn it around, and we need to grab this mark with this mark. So I'm just going to butt this up against the dark score line and score right down. Okay? Then you're going to burnish. Burnish this way also. Every way you scored. Okay. We no longer need that. So now what we are going to do is, let me scoot out a bit. Let's, before we can adhere this to the card, we have to adhere whatever papers we want here and here. So for this card, I die cut the front of the paper using the ghosts and a 4" by 5 1/4" stitched rectangle die. If you don't have this, just cut a piece of paper 4 inches across by 5 1/4. For the inside, I used the reverse side and I cut another piece 4 inches by 5 1/4. And then here is just a plain white piece of cardstock, 4 inches by 5 1/4. Again, all 3 pieces you can use a stitched rectangle die with, okay? So I'm going to, I have also already put my double-sided tape on the back. Here I'm using the 2" tape. So I'm going to remove the tape backing from the dots, and I'm just going to adhere it to the inside of the card at the top. Okay. I have here my white paper. I'm not stamping a sentiment on this one, but I am going to remove the tape backing. And adhere this to the inside of the card where you can write a little message. Okay. Since the card is flat, before we put this on, I'm going to take the front of my card. Now I'm going to show you guys something. I wanted to raise this up a little bit. So here I have a piece of fun foam cut just a little shy of 4 inches by 5 1/4 because I don't want it hanging out on the side. So I'm going to adhere this to the back of my front. You could use double-sided foam tape. I use fun foam for all that stuff because this is so much cheaper here in Brazil than double-sided foam tape or weather stripping. Okay, so I added a little piece there. I'm now just going to add some tape to the back of the fun foam. If you only have this tape, it works fine. So I'm just going to I use a little acrylic block just to get a nice clean edge to where my tape is ending. I will then take the tape backing off here. And I will adhere this to the card front. Let me make sure that's the front. So this would be the front of the card. If anyone knows who makes this paper, let me know, because I don't remember. I don't remember. I will come back later and adhere googly eyes to this just for the heck of it. Okay, so now we can work with our inside mechanism, okay? So what you want to do is you want to you want to pull these in, okay, on each side, because you want them to pull in to form this little triangle hat here. Okay, so again, here's your paper, okay, your cardstock. You want to pull these two corners in, and then these two corners, and it should just fold right down, okay? I'm going to come here and I'm going to burnish this down well. I don't know why, but with some of the other ones I made, one of these little legs came out a little bit longer, so I just trimmed it off so it was both, so that they were both the same length, okay? Now what you want to do is you want to, this is where you can use wet glue if you want to. I'm going to put double-sided tape here. We could use, you know what, I'll use wet glue. How about we use wet glue? Okay, I am going to put some wet glue here. We are going to butt the tip here up to the score mark. You're going to center this as well as possible, and then we're going to close the top down. That's why using the double-sided tape for me is just much faster and cleaner. So I'm just going to add some tape here. I'm going to get that to the center. Looks pretty good. Now I'm just going to close this down. Hold that for a little bit. Now we're going to turn it over. You're going to do the same thing on this side. So if you have tape, you just put the double-sided tape on before you adhere this down. Okay, I'm just going to pull that in. Let this sit for a moment. These are great. I picked these up here, and I just buy a big bottle of glue and I just fill these up. And if anyone's interested, if you can't find these in your country, let me know. I could get some off to you. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so there's our mechanism. As you open and close this card more, the mechanism will work out better. Okay, it'll work out the kinks. Now, we are going to grab our other piece. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to pull in, we want to pull in the two sides. Okay, so it looks like a W. Okay, pull in the two sides like that. I normally will use a ruler. Sorry, give me a second here. Okay. So you're not going to see this when the card opens. So what I will do is I will find the center mark here, and I'll just kind of line up the ruler and just make a little line here. So I know that that's the center of, yep, this is my little Oreo. This is fun foam also. Could you imagine? These are two little Oreo cookies that I picked up at a craft show 2 years ago. This is fun foam. You'd be amazed at what Brazilians do with fun foam. Anyway, so now we are going to line up right here. Let me scoot in a bit. Okay. You want to line up the center of this piece with the center of this here. Close the pieces. I'm going to use some score tape here. So you just want to put score tape in the upper quadrant, not both sides, okay? Just the upper. And I just do three little, you could use wet glue here if you want, okay? So I'm just going to line this up again. I'm going to remove the backing. Let me just make sure I have this correct here. Okay. And then what you want to do is open You have your tape here or your glue. You're going to open this and just let that adhere there. Now turn it around, and again we're going to put the tape or the wet glue here in this quadrant. Remove the tape backings. Okay. And then you're going to open up this flap and just lay it down and let it okay. So now when you pull your card closed, you may have to fiddle around with it in the beginning just until the mechanism starts to come together. But as you open and close this, it will begin to work out all its kinks and where it needs to go. So now we basically have this done. All we need to do is add this. So what I did was, I know that each of these squares is 2.5. Let me see. Each square is 2.5 inches wide by 3.5. So I need 4 pieces for the panel that are 2.25 wide by 3.25 wide. So what I did was, from this big sheet of paper, I cut a piece off that is 9 inches by 3.25. Okay. And when I'm going to, and I put my double-sided tape on the back, so that's why I used the wide one here, just so it's faster. What I will now do is cut 4 pieces at 2.25 each. And if you're using something that has a scene or words on it, make sure that you keep it in order so that you don't adhere it incorrectly. So this will be 4 pieces at 2.25 by 3.25. And then what I'm going to do is just adhere each of them to my panel. You could use glue here also. I just find that glue makes, once the glue dries, it makes the cards a little bit more bulky than I like. If you have a tape runner, that's perfect also. So that's the first one. And now I will just take off and glue down all the other ones. I'd love to know where you guys are watching from. Although I am American, I do live in São Paulo, Brazil. There are closed captions on these videos for whatever country you live in, as long as those settings are set for your country. So, and let me know if you've ever made one of these. I know it looks a little intimidating, and the first time I watched someone do this on YouTube, I had to go back and watch it a second time because I wasn't exactly getting it. So I hope that my video is a little informative and well done. So, okay, so there we have our 4 panel pieces, and you just close it, and we're done. So this is the 1 layer. If you wanted to do the 2 layer, you would just do another layer underneath here and here and here. So, I mean, go through your stash of Halloween papers, see what might work, go through your Christmas papers. I am going to come back and do another video on this one. This is a 2 layer. I may even turn it into a 3 layer, and I'm going to show why I picked this from the paper. So that'll be another video soon. Anyway, I hope you've loved this video. I made this specifically for one person, and she knows who she is. And anyway, I hope you subscribe to my channel. Leave a comment below, please. That really helps. and hit that bell to be notified for the next time that I have a video post. And I will see you soon. And thank you so much for stopping by my channel. Take care, everyone.